Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is Joe Figueroa at LAR Dance TV with another video in our series, Anatomy of a Dance, where I break down a social dance count for count, pointing out everything that the lead does and the follow does. You might be saying to yourself right now, this doesn't sound like Joe's usual intro. You are correct, because this video isn't about me. This week's video is of another dance couple, Fernando Salsa and Jessica Patella of Tropical Gem. Perfect example of what happens when two unstoppable forces meet on a dance floor. If those of you watching don't know what Tropical Gem is, I suggest you look it up. Obviously, this is going to be chock full of a lot of dance technique, so we're going to get right into it. So settle in, everybody, and we're starting right now. Tropical Gem is a dance company based out of Milan, Italy. They have been at the forefront of everything that is salsa dance for the last 15 plus years. In a category all their own, they break boundaries of all types of dance. Salsa, bachata, hip-hop, tango, you name it, they do it. Their performances are always top tier, and the dancers on their team are always the best in the house. I shot this video 2 years ago at the Las Vegas Salsa Congress. The best salsa congress in the country, in my opinion. We start off with a crossbody lead into a rotation, followed by a second rotation. I like how at the end of the second rotation, ladies, she goes into a little hair flip. It's a little bit out of frame, but you can see that she kind of flips her hair over with her left hand. He then switches to handshake hold, leading her into an arm bar, into a progressive turn. He then switches hands to his left and then switches back to his right hand to go into a fishtail and then lead her into a double inside turn to check, which is almost like a triple. I think one of the most important things I learned from Fernando Salsa was how he emphasizes always moving your feet. He showed that all of the power, all the energy comes from your steps. Guys, notice how during the inside turn double to check, he stops her by putting his left hand at her shoulder, and that's a great indication of how he uses his hands to provide signal to her. From the check, he leads her into a quadruple spin. She has her mark, which is him, and then she catches him every time for all 4 spins after the check. On carpet, mind you. Gentlemen, notice after her spins, he has his left hand up and waiting to lead her into a left hands over right copa break. He then picks her up at the waistline and then leads her into a back travel where he then brings the arm underneath to go into a bit of styling, which also works great with the music. During the walk back, she styles with her right arm across the chest. She takes her step back on 1 with a nice little roll of the hips and then a body roll forward on the 3. She uses that 5, 6, 7 to, again, hip roll, and then she pops the chin back. After that, she breaks back on 1. He breaks back on 1 with her. Leads into a back pass where he puts his hand to the small of her back on 7, then leads her behind his back to another inside turn from the hip into a 360 crossbody lead. This is a great social dance teachable moment. I always talk about this in all of my videos and all the classes that I teach. I always try to keep one point of contact on the ladies at all times. So there's never any moment where she does not feel my touch someplace on her to indicate to her what I'm trying to do next. Now notice here that Fernando gives her the free spin. As she's coming out of the turn, he puts his hand to the small of her back on the count of 7, takes his break for 1, behind the back, catches her at the hip on the count of 3, and then replaces that handhold to her back again on the count of 7 as he goes into his 360 crossbody lead. Behind his back, again, he switches hands so that she has her left hand connected to his left and then right, and then he leads her into another free spin where he picks her up to lead her into a dip. So when you're leading, lead by touch. We come out of the dip into a crossbody lead. He leads her into what would look like another rotation, but he launches her up into the air. She brings her knees tucked in really high, brings her into a soft landing. Now ladies, look at this. As she lands, she sweeps her back leg forward immediately, then tucks them both in, body rolls up out of it. Look at the way she bends back, then snaps her head forward into an inside turn from the cross. He then braces her, leading her into a display, a gancho like in tango, and then into a split, and then bounces back up out of it. But the dynamics don't stop there. She comes out of the inside turn. He leads her into his signature Fernando Sosa move, a back break for her into what would otherwise be considered a copa. He then gives a late lift on the count of 3. So he back breaks on 1, he passes one hand over the head on 2, and then he brings the right hand over her head very quickly on the count of 3, and then just holds for 5, 6, 7, just so that we can all soak it in. Bring both hands together, one on top of the other, and then he turns and leads a double. He then passes his arm through the hands. He goes to his right, where he brings his arms behind her back. She has the opportunity to fan her arms out to the sides, and he leads her into a crossbody lead. This next part is almost too fast to break down, but I'm going to try. Double crescent spin, but the second spin, it wraps behind the neck, picks the hand up, back breaks, and leads her into some kind of pretzeled arm hold, where he then leads her into a progressive turn in the other direction, passes her right hand over his head, picks it up underneath his own arm, then leads her into another back-led progressive turn, where he then turns over toward his left, passes both hands over to the side, then quickly, after he brings his right arm down to his waistline, brings his left arm back over his head, turns to his right, lets one hand go, picks it back up, and then turns completely to his side, and his hat falls off his head. But he doesn't stop. He leads her into an inside turn double, lets her exit to style while he bends down to pick up his own hat. After he readjusts himself, he picks her back up for a crossbody lead, switches to handshake hold, which looks like they're preparing to do something big, and you're about to see what that is. It's a double inside turn on the prep. Look at this. 1 and 2 and 3 into a crossbody lead for 5. Switches the hand to go behind his back for 6, 7. Switches it back. A nice styled step there for 1. As he leads her into an Apache, putting the hand behind the back, and she goes into her progressive turn. He then turns to his right, passes the hand over his head, tosses it over her head for another inside turn, lets it go, turns to his right again, picks the hand up as it's waiting for him. Another turn during the break from the fishtail. He then stops her at the shoulder, leads her into a double progressive turn, loops on the second turn over her head, then seemingly behind his back, picks the hand up with his left to her right, turns to his right as he does so, leads her into a crescent spin, double. On the second spin, he picks her hand up, loops both over the head, passes the hand over the head for a quick type of caress, picks the hand back up, back breaks, leads her into another one of his signature 1, 2, 3 copa breaks, where he just stops for 5, 6, 7 so we can soak it in, which is him styling into spins while she falls out of frame. She styles, he styles into spins. He picks her up, leads her into another type of fishtail, takes a step again, picks up the hand, leads her into a progressive turn. He loops the hand downward, then picks it up, almost pokes himself in the eye, over his shoulder, lets it go, picks up both hands once again, turns to his right, leading both hands over the head, leads her into a double, bringing the right arm, her left arm down, so that he can lift it back up for a late loop. That's on the count of 7 again. Then he brings the hands down, resets, leads her into a double setenta, so both hands go up over the head. On the second spin, he brings the hand down, so that way it can go behind the back. He passes his left hand, her right, over his head, picks it up behind the back, leads her into a back lead copa, arm locks, almost falls over but doesn't, picks both hands up, turns to his right, passes both hands over the head again, and then leads her into a inside turn to check, where he passes the hand over the head for a caress. He then uses that arm to pass over his head. He changes her direction in the process, turns to his right to face her, leads over her head and then over his as he breaks back to his left again, switches handhold from his right to his left, then his left to his right, switches again to his left, picking her up at the wrist, leading her into another Apache, turns to his right, switches the hands again, leads her into another Apache. He moves with her though, passes the hand over his head with his left, turns to his right as he does so, then a continued progressive turn where he stops her at the waistline, turns her back toward him, and then leads her into another crossbody lead. How does he come up with this stuff? You know, salsa is a dance that's been around for a long time, so it can be safe to say that there's nothing new under the sun. There are 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 bodies, and mostly everything's been done. But when it comes to salsa, Tropical Gem invents it. They are creating new material on a regular basis. Most people dancing that you see are doing things that you've seen before, but not this guy. They are inventing salsa, creating it every day. I always say in my classes, there's no such thing as new moves. There's new ideas on old moves. This man's ideas are beyond compare. Crossbody lead. Ladies, look at how she styles to the side on 7 and then brings her hand to the hip, up the side of her body into a hair flip. He picks up that arm and then leads her into a T position behind him. From that T position into an inside turn to wrap at the waistline, he leads her then into a check to progressive turn that follows into a setenta. This part's cool. After the setenta, he leads her into an inside turn but doesn't let the hand go over the head. He lets it wrap at her neckline, then takes her left arm, passes it over his head, runs behind her, picks the hand up where he left it, and then another progressive turn where he lets it wrap behind the back. Then he steps into a continuous inside turn, letting the arm loop over the head so that she can style through with a nice head roll forward and then snap it back. He holds position with his arm up in the tippy toe. She arm styles during the 1, 2, 3 as he turns toward her, throws the hand up over her head, then reaches for her waistline to pick her up. Once again, always keeping one point of contact on the lady, leading her into an inside turn where he picks her up. Now this next part had to be from choreography. She throws her leg back, he holds it for her, she then takes her own foot, holds it in position, he leads her into a multiple set of spins while she holds her own leg. And that's another quadruple turn, ladies. Wraps her in at the 5, 6, 7 to stop her so that they can go along with the music. She gives a nice little knee raise here as she styles the arm out across her chest, and then he unwraps her so that she can style again on the way out. Again, all going with the music. Oh look, one basic to take a breath after the crossbody lead, and then leads her into a double progressive turn where he loops over her head and his head, turns to his right as he lets the hand go, picks the hand up where he left it, as well as the other hand, passes both over the head, leads her into another double inside turn, then turns to his right once again, passing both hands over the head, leading her into a double crescent spin, picks the hand up again, turns to his left, passes both hands over the head, then leads her into another back break where he late loops on 3, picks the hand up again, turns to his left, passes both hands over the head, triple spin where he lets the hand go, loops to his left as he passes the hand over the shoulder, and then picks it back up. Picks the hands up, lefts over rights, This is one of my favorite things to do. A double inside turn without breaking hand connection. He turns to his right, then leads her into a double progressive turn without breaking hand connection, turns to his left, passes both hands over the head, brings the right down to his waist, passes the left over his head, lets the right hand go, picks her right hand back up, back to his left, passes both hands over the head. Now notice this. He has left to left and right to right. He turns to his right after he lets his right hand go. Then, quickly, while facing her, switches to have left to left and right to right again, passing them back over the head as he goes to his left. He switches her right hand over to his left, then uses his right hand to toss her left hand behind her back, turns to his right, picks that hand up behind her back. She's now in a setenta position. He then loops under the arms, leading her into a copa break, then leads that into another progressive turn where he lets the hand flick again, turns to his left, and then picks the hand up for another right hand turn into a back travel. They walk back, they style again, and walk forward, looking as cool as they can. They did all of that in 3 minutes. There is simply nothing else like them. Tropical Gem is groundbreaking salsa, year in and year out. If you ever have an opportunity to take from them, I suggest you do it. They come to the Las Vegas Salsa Congress every year and may attend other events in the United States on occasion, but they will definitely be in Las Vegas every year. Aside from that, if you're in Europe, I'm sure you can find them someplace. If you like the video, please share, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell so you can get alerts on upcoming videos. Breaking down dances is what I do, so if you see something you want a better breakdown of, let me know. Alright, that's going to do it for me, guys. As always, see you on the dance floor.